Good morning, cadets. Today is Saturday, 12 September 2020. Now, we will tackle about the military justice. So, military justice is the system for enforcing discipline and administering criminal law in the military establishment. So, these are some salient aspects of our military justice system. So, when we say enforcing discipline and administering criminal law, for your own understanding, when you hear discipline, when you hear discipline, do you think it is a punishment or not? So some people will do, but the meaning of discipline has the meaning of discipline is to learn or to teach. So in the administering criminal law in the military establishment, it is very important or noticeable in military justice system. So under the broad concept rules governing the conduct of military personnel and providing for the method by which persons who break them from the punish are break them may be punished or contained in the Articles of War, the Manual of Court Martial. So, the Constitution of the Philippines and pertinent laws, this brings us to the topic of military jurisdiction. Okay, when we say court martial, it is a military court or a trial conducted in such a court. A court martial is empowered to determine the guilt of members of the armed forces subjected to military law, and if the defendant is found guilty, to decide upon punishment. So, we have the court martial in our military justice system. So, let us proceed to jurisdiction. Jurisdiction is also court martial have the authority to try a wide range of military offenses, many of which closely resembled civilian crimes, fraud. Or when we say fraud, it is the crime of using dishonest methods to take something valuable from another person. Or in other words, a copy of something that is meant to look like the real thing in order to trick people. Okay, let me say for example, in the word fraud, kana bitong mag-write of signature without permission sa the owner of the signature, kanang kopyahon or suhiron sa ilaing term basta muna siya example sa fraud. Okay, so in military jurisdiction, again, it is emanates from several sources, among which are the Constitution of the Philippines and international law. Some specific provisions of the Constitution granting some powers to Congress and the authority vested to the President of the Philippines as a Commander-in-Chief of all armed forces of the Philippines. So our Commander-in-Chief of all armed forces of the Philippines is no other than His Excellency Rodrigo Roa Duterte. So, but how is military jurisdiction exercised, and what are the agencies through which it is being carried out? So, it is exercised by belligerent states occupying any enemy's territory. So, military government. By a government temporarily governing the civil populace through its military forces without authority of a written law as necessity may require martial law. So, and by the government of execution of its authority over the military are as confirmed by the branch of municipal law, which exercise is carried out by the following agencies. So, we have the four agencies here in our government. the court martial. First, we have the court martial, commanding officers, the court of inquiry, military tribunals or commissions. So in court martial, it is the general, special, and summary. Wait lang. So in classification of court martial, so we have the general court martial. It is consists of any number of officers not less than 5 shall have the power to try any person subject to military law for any crime or offense made punishment by the articles of war. So ang general court martial ang mag-handle ani. Next, special court martial. Any number of officers not less than 3 shall have the power to try any person subjected to military law for any crime or offense not capital made punishable by the articles of war. Okay, next is the summary court martial. Small consists of 1 officer only. So, shall have the power to try any person subject to military law except an officer, a member of the Nurse Corps, a cadet, a flying cadets who are for any crime and offense not capital made punishable by the articles of war. Next agency is the commanding officers in exercising their disciplinary powers under Article of Wars 1.105. Again, Article of Wars 105. So, the disciplinary powers of commanding officers, the policy are the authority of the commanding officers under Article of War 105 cannot be delegated. Next, whether or not an offense may be considered as minor depends upon its nature and the time and place of its commission, the persons committing it, and other circumstances surrounding its commission. So, the third agencies of the military jurisdiction is the court of injury. So, when we say court of injury, it is the court records, like the names, search for civil, criminal cases of the person. Next is military tribunals or commission. So, in military tribunals or commissions, it is to try and decide the cases of the military. Or, in other words, a kind of court that has authority in a specific area. So, next, let us continue to the arrest of confinement of offenders. Okay, let us now consider the classes of individuals who are automatically fall under the jurisdiction of court martial. Before we tackle the topic of arrest and confinement, the military offenders, as a general rule, court martial have the exclusive jurisdiction over all persons subject to military law who commit an offense penalized by the punitive articles of war. To the more specific, the term person subject to military law refers to the following. So, we have the following person subjected to military law. First, all officers and enlisted personnel in the regular force of the EFP. So, in court martial, we have the exclusive jurisdiction over all persons subject to military law who commit an offense penalized by the punitive articles of war. So, when we say punitive, I have here the divisions of military justice system in my search. So, punitive are those that define the offense and prescribe punishment for violation thereof the same being considered as penal in nature. So, we have also non-punitive or administrative, are those that results in decisions not involving penal sanctions but merely defined procedure. So we have the person subject to military law. The following are first, all officers and enlisted personnel in the regular force of the Armed Forces of the Philippines. Second, all reservists from the date of their call to active duty and while on such active duty. So, ang mga reservist, mao nang mga military nga dili sila active in field. Like, kaming mga bagong graduate sa advanced cadet officer, kami maay one of the reservists in military. The third one is all trainees undergoing military instructions. Next, all cadets of the PMA and PAF flying school and probationary lieutenants on actual training. And then the fifth one is retainers. So when we say retainers, a person attached or owing service to the household or servant. From the word servant. So mga retainers to camp. Kanang mga sulugoon sa kampo, all persons accompanying or serving with the AFP in the field of war or in the martial law is declared. Muna sila mga madali-daling masugo sa ato ang mga AFP. Then the last one, so number 6, all persons under sentence adjudged by the court martial or military tribunal. So it would be appropriate to state at this junction, the CAT and ROTC cadets are not persons subjected to military law. So kamong mga cadets in ROTC, you are not belong to the military law. You are not subjected, rather, because they are not considered as cadets as defined by the Articles of War. So, ang katong mga subjected ra yun sa katong mga officers nga, kanang regular sila nga army, mga soldiers in the Philippines. So, okay. Military jurisdictions over a person is terminated upon discharge or separation from the service. However, jurisdiction of a court-martial as to offense is not automatically terminated upon discharge or separation in the following instances. So, we have the military jurisdiction, katunang mga persons to be terminated upon discharge. Okay. Now, let me say for example, naa sila na destino sa usa ka camp nga diha ra sila ma-assign, and then as you can see, more of the military gipang transfer into another places kay tungod kay naa sila yung mga magdepende pod sa ilang ipang discharge na sila, especially kung naa sila yung mga offense sa ilahang detachment. Siya. For example, naa sila na ilang detachment sa Camp Leon Kilat, Palanas. Then naa sila yung offense nga nabuhat ang mga regular army ba. Naa sila offense nga nabuhat na ay posibilidad nga i-discharge sila. So, i-transfer into another detachment. Okay. So, we have the following instances upon discharge or separation. First, cases of fraud or embezzlement. So, ako nang gi-explain kanina ang the word fraud. Mo tong mga kanang magkuan ba? To copy such kanang walay such thing walay without permission to the owner. Like, let's say, for example, kanang signature. The most important na siya. Kinahanglan, dili ka magpasagad og kopya ana. And then, wait lang. Embezzlement. So, when we say embezzlement, to steal money that you have been trusted with. Kung magka-case ka anang inana, fraud or embezzlement, na akay mga nalabag sa rules, that's why ma-discharge ka sa ma-discharge ang usa ka soldier sa iyahang detachment, i-transfer jud na siya og lain nga places. So next, where a charges or separation is obtained through fraud, the discharge or separation may be cancelled and individual is arrested and returned to military control. So, if ever if ever kanang ilahang offense bitaw nga nabuhat, masolusyonan ra na or they are not guilty na ay it is possible to it has possible rather nga ma-cancelled ang ilahang pagkakuan. Individual is arrested, ma-cancelled ang ilahang pag arrest, then mabalik lang gihapon sila. Okay, the last instances upon discharge of a soldier where a soldier's discharge or separation does not interrupt his status as a person subject to military law. Okay, mao to ang the following instances upon the discharge of a soldier. Next is when a person subjected to military law commits or is charged with a serious military offense, he shall be placed in confinement or in arrest as circumstances may require. So, arrest in the sense means the taking into custody of someone by legal authority. When charged with a minor offense only, such person shall not ordinarily be placed in confinement. Arrest or confinement may be deferred until arrangement and my God.